waste my life. I don't wanna waste my life. I don't wanna waste my life. Living in this world.
On the beats.
It's just some things, there's no going back. You know what I'm saying?
jwoodbeats.com.
Yeah, I'm not the one with the issues. I hear you, now here is your tissue. If I'm moving too fast, I might have to dismiss you. And it's really too bad, cause I really will miss you. But I'm not the one with the issues. I left him at church when I made it official. I murdered the curse with my own benediction. Left God in the dirt, call it death of the fiction. Superstition will be served an eviction. Competition will be left in the ditch. Oh my God, it's too damn hot in this kitchen. The fishes of men are now swimming with fishes. Oops, my bad, I guess I'm moving too vicious. Verses sold, I gotta put them on your wish list. Bless my soul, cause I'm dodging your little hit list. I guess you know, you just lost another witness.
Gotta let me go, gotta let me go, gotta let me go. Gotta let me go, gotta let me go, gotta let me go right now. Gotta let me go, gotta let me go, gotta let me go. Gotta let me go.
Welcome to Sunday Sessions. Listen, my name is Darante, LaMar, and I'm the founder of BridgeCity Global, where our purpose is to be a better way to connect. I'm currently on sabbatical from live shows while I've been working to build coursework to accelerate engagement for both community members and leaders. But in the meantime, I wanted to make sure that we still had these weekly touch points of community engagement and conversation. So welcome in. And if this is your first time with us, introduce yourself in the chat and let us know where you're joining from. And by the way, happy Mother's Day for those of you who celebrate it. I know it can be a tricky subject. All right, so let's kind of jump into today's conversation. When I was a charismatic pastor, two of my favorite sermon series to preach during the summer were Get in the Game and I'm Working on Something. To this day, the Get in the Game series is one of my wife's favorites. But both series were designed to creatively give our members and guests a highly visual and engaging orientation to the work of the ministry using popular imagery such as sports and construction. And man, we'd go all out with it too. We changed the platform to look like a football field or a locker room or even a construction zone. And I got to give credit to Dr. R.A. Vernon here, who was one of my mentors around this time, who was really the first person who platformed this series and built it out as a methodological approach to ministry, and the idea of using the platform as a stage and creating opportunities for theatric moments. It was just absolutely beautiful. And I kind of want to seed a little excitement here about that. I cannot wait, honestly, and I'm just being honest. I know it's early, but damn, I'm excited already. I can't wait to get back to that type of demonstrative presentation that allows us to not only cater to a variety of learning styles, but also creates more opportunity for creative thinkers and doers in the community. Like, I would love to see BridgeCity campuses treating Sunday sessions as an immersive social arts experience. Like, imagine that, Anyway, the I'm Working on Something series quickly became a fan favorite because not only did it motivate people to get more actively involved in the church, which ultimately was the goal, but it also got people more energized about their own goals, ambitions, and personal passions and projects in life. And as I was reflecting on this weekend's conversation, I thought, man, that might be a great place to start. Okay, let me explain. I know I got to make this make sense, right? I see y'all looking at me all crazy-eyed. It's okay. Flow with your boy. In the narratives called Nehemiah, the story centers around the people who are returning from exile and capture and are engaging in the process of reconstructing what had been deconstructed. And it's these stories that we often use to situate the I'm Working on Something series. For example, there's one encounter where Nehemiah, the main character, is working on organizing and rebuilding the temple and the community when word begins to spread about his exaggerated success. Literally, the story goes that people hear that he's rebuilt the wall with no breaches, but in the text, the author says that he hadn't even put the doors in the gate yet. Ain't that crazy? And I do kind of just want to pause here, and please, we'll just let this be a secular ministry moment. I do have to pause here and say a lot of times people's misguided fears of you are the exaggerations of their own fears. You know what I'm saying? And that was just a beautiful segue. I had to highlight it. It was just a moment. Blame it on me being a preacher. Blame it on the it don't work the same way as alcohol. I guess not, huh? But anyway, so it is this exaggeration of alleged success that brings the attention of critics, crusaders, cowards, and cons, who all attempt to distract, delay, detour, or outright deny his attempt, Nehemiah, of fulfilling his mission. They send messages to him inviting him to meet, but he rightfully recognizes their intentions are not in good faith. They accuse him of radicalizing the locals, trying to start a rebellion. They try to intimidate him through scandalizing his name, claiming that he's setting up prophets and he has plans to make himself king. And all of this is ultimately just to get his attention. Some maybe just because they needed a conversation, but most so that they could intentionally disrupt the work. Now, that's why I thought this series throwback was a perfect segue into today's conversation, because as we continue to unpack the mission, the message, and the methodology of BridgeCity Global, I thought this would be a great opportunity to give you insight into my mindset when it comes to distractions and the work that we do. Because in the story, they come at him about 4 or 5 times and even go as far as making stuff up. But his response is twofold. To the distractors, he said, and I can't even lie, I love this. To the distractors, he said, I am doing a great work and I cannot come down. I started to name this weekend's conversation, I can't come down, man. He says, no, I hear you, but I am doing a great work and I can't come down. Like, I get it. There's this old quote, and forgive me if I say it wrong, but it was like, big minds, great minds discuss ideas, small minds discuss people. He says, I'm doing a great work and I can't come down. People have even tried to get me to discuss other people on my lives and stuff. And many of you know I respond very offensively to that. I'm like, why would you ever ask me about another person? I don't know them. I don't live in their shoes. What is my opinion of utility? I'm sorry. I'm doing a great work and I can't come down. Years ago, my wife and I did a conversation series, and one of the conversations we had was called Petty Principles. And we came up with this saying, and we still say it around the house every now and then, but it's called Petty Already. Look, I'm sorry. I am doing a great work. I don't know what you're doing. Maybe you have time for distractions, but as for me, I'm doing a great work and I cannot come down. This is my mindset when it comes to distractions, internal, external, whatever, because I am so convinced that what I am doing is necessary. Man, not even just for you, it's necessary for me. This is the stuff that I've been breathing for a decade, the stuff that I've been building. I don't need you to consider my work great for me to consider it great. Would you go ahead and tag somebody real quick and say, no, I don't need your permission for my work to be great. No, baby, I am doing a great work and I cannot come down. He says, why should the work stop while I leave it and come down to you? This is my mindset. I love it. I had to pull this story. Man. I had to pull this series because this is very much my mindset. I'm focused right now. I'm convinced that what I'm working on is a great work. And I hope I'm talking to some people who are working on some things in your own lives that you can say, no, I think what I'm doing, this is a great work. I'm working on something. It's one of those things that is so important to me that I just can't come down from this. Like, no distractions, no detours, no delays, no denials. I am doing a great work. And why should the work stop so I can come down to you? But then that's what he says to the distractors. That's what he says to the distractions, but to the community. And I'm just reciting the story. And actually, This one kind of reminds me of a story in the Odyssey where the guy is warned about the sirens, but he wants to make it home, and he knows in order to make it there, everybody, the people on the ship are going to have to stuff their ears with wax, and he kind of still wants to hear the distractions but not be distracted by them. So the decision that he makes is to tie me to the mast. I hope I'm calling it the right thing, but the pole or whatever it is, tie me to that and don't let me down. In the same way, bruh man says, nope, I can't come down. This mission is way too important. I'm sorry. I'm doing a great work. Would you go ahead and tag somebody? Say, hey man, what you doing? What kind of work are you doing? Because as for me, I'm doing a great work, man. Please don't take it offensively. It's just what I'm trying to do, okay? That's what I'm aiming for. What are you? What are you aiming for? And then to the community, he said, and I absolutely love this, and we're going to move on from this in a minute. This is just the introduction. This is the segue. He says they were just trying to intimidate us, imagining that they could discourage us to stop the work. So I continued the work with even greater determination. God damn, man. Like, this is why you should have never gave black people a Bible. You should have never gave the Bible to black people, because one thing we good at is we know how to preach some shit, man. We know how to pull some stuff out of it. I remember reading Exodus when I was a kid and getting over to that point where it says the more they beat them, the more they multiplied. The more they persecuted them, the more they multiplied. Man, some of that stuff I've just kind of adapted. It's adapted. It's second nature. So even with everything going on in the world, I love the way that he presented this to the community that he was working for, reminding them that, hey, all of these are just intimidation tactics. The whole goal is to discourage the work. The whole goal is to distract us from the work. And so he says, so I continued the work with even greater determination. Oh man, I think this is a great place to drop this weekend's conversation title. If you're wondering why I'm not as available as you would like me to be sometimes, or if you're wondering why I don't attend every desperate plea for my attention, it's because I'm working on something. God, that's good. I'm doing a great work and I cannot come down. Why should the work stop while I leave it and come down? If you love the idea of personal growth and community development, will you go ahead and tag somebody and type that in the chat? Will you go ahead and tag somebody and type, I'm working at something? That's the closest we can get to a high five your neighbor. Tag somebody and say, I'm working on something. Listen, I may not be working on what you're working on, but I am working on something. I might not be working on what Darante is working on, but I am working on something. My goal in today's conversation is to talk to about 50 people who are actively working on something in their lives that brings them joy, that brings them fulfillment, that brings them progress. Are y'all ready for this conversation today? Are y'all ready for this conversation this weekend? Listen, I know this ain't live, but this is still live. It's a premiere, so it's kind of live. I can see you. All right. So what is it that I'm working on? Let's get into this. I'm working on something that is, and for those of you that are already going through our BC 101, How We Change the World course, this is a great opportunity. You should probably already know where I'm going with this, because you should probably already know that our conversation for the first weekend of the sabbatical, which was, oh my goodness, I hope I can get this right. I think I like who I'm becoming, was an introduction to the first module or the first lesson of our BC 101 course. Last week, I'm Beyond That was another creative introduction to lesson 2. And so for those of you who will go along with the courses, baby, this is lesson 3 in a creative way. So among the many things that I'm working on, one of the things that I'm working on is I'm working on something that is progressive thinking. Understanding that change is not our enemy. Progressivism means staying open to new information, perspectives, and solution. It requires critical thinking, not blind loyalty, and it requires humility and not necessarily certainty. We reject dogma in all forms, even secular ones. I think last week we did a great job unpacking a few secular superstitions that often keep us from progress. And we do this in favor of ongoing growth and learning. I think one thing you'll learn about me real quickly is that I'm committed to doing what works. That's how my people-centrism works, because I'm trying to do whatever it takes to reach as many people as we can, to help as many people as we can, to create space for as many people as we can. I'm only willing to entertain what is working. If I'm doing something and it stops working, I stop doing it. I have to readjust. That's what being open to new information means, not entertaining every fairy tale that somebody offers. Oh my goodness, and then I think I need to hit that, because that seems to be a perversion of being open. It's a perversion, and I think I've done a good job of already calling out the hypocrisy. Anybody who says that we should entertain being open to the possibility of the Christian God existence specifically, the only way I would say that person is actually being genuine and sincere is if they'd be equally willing to have that conversation about Superman, Batman, Spider-Man, the Fantastic Four, the Wonder Twins, and all the other bullshit out there. So we don't play that game. And so I want to highlight here that the key word here is new information. We're open to new information. I'm not interested in debating, platforming, or promoting old problems. Nope. But I am, man, absolutely excited and damn near expectant when it comes to new solutions. There are people in this community who take issue with the fact that I don't debate Christians, and I guess I'll take their issue seriously when they start debating alchemists. But the reality is, I'm more interested in solutions than continued confusion. I spent 2 decades of my life worrying about the problems. In this phase, I'm working on the solutions. I absolutely love the debate community. It's amazing to me. I participate in it, but that's not what I'm here for. I've been very clear about my mission, my message, and my methodology since day damn one. And what is it, folks? It's community. It's the people, stupid. Safe and soft spaces to land for people who are seeking connection without the side of superstition. I sometimes wonder if our commitment to keep beating a dead horse is what keeps the dead horse relevant. I'll let you pause and meditate on that. The 2 primary questions of progressive thinking are, what now and what next? Not what then. No. What now and what next? Somebody put that in the chat. What now and what next? So after the deconstruction and the deconverting, after the unpacking and the tearing down, after grieving the lost and soothing the trauma, what now and what next? After tearing all the pieces down, after cussing everybody out in the family, what now and what next? After making the decision that this type of community might be toxic or might not be conducive for the type of growth that you want to have in life, what now and what next? See, I think that's a problem. Sometimes that when we're talking about progressivism, we're not always talking about progress. And progress is not just social, it's also personal. As a matter of fact, you don't truly get social progress without personal progress. Personal progress is the fuel for social progress. And I think many times we have it the other way around, where we're thinking society is going to progress and then we're going to progress, when in all actuality, society progressing is the byproduct of people progressing. Is that good? And that comes from wrestling with those questions. What now and what next? And of course, we know that's a different thing for everybody. That means something. Your now is likely vastly different than mine. And your next is likely vastly different from mine. It's deeply personal. Progress answers both of these questions. So many people are stuck right now because they have not tied their now to their next. Oh my goodness. So sometimes people have even done the work of knowing where I am now, but haven't given any thought to where do I want this now to connect me to? Where do I want this now to lead me to? When I used to lead mentoring groups, I used to lead people through this process that I call time traveling. And before you phase out on your boy, trust me, it's not a woo thing. It's a thought experiment. But I used to teach people, watch this, how to time travel. Okay? And this was a way to teach people to learn how to connect their now to their next. And time traveling meant, all right, what is this goal? What is this idea? What is this business? What is this organization? What is this thing, this project, this program that you're trying to do? What is it that you're trying to do? And what does it look like? You know, let's go there. Let's time travel into the future. Let's fast forward. Let's assume that you got there and you are sitting there at whatever the pinnacle of that is for you. And after working with people for nearly 2 decades, I've learned that it's very different for everybody. Everybody has different appetites, different desires. It's very different for everybody. But I asked them, time travel, get there. All right. That's you getting to your next. All right. You get there. What does that look like? Oh, man, it's nice. Enjoy it. Breathe in it. Dang, it's nice, ain't it? Yeah. Okay, great. Now, how did you get there? Okay. What? No. How did you get there? That version of you in that future, what did you do that morning? You know, what all did you have to do to structure that moment that you're allowing yourself to imagine? What did you have to do to make that day possible? And then, what did you have to do the day before that? And then, what did you have to do the day before that? And then, what did you have to do the day before that? Because sometimes I think so many of us have gotten caught up into this romanticized notion of overnight success or suddenlies or boom, baby, it's going to happen. Boom, shaka, laka, laka, laka. That we've absolutely disconnected ourselves from cause and effect and the impact that multiple variables have on our success. I think we missed out on this piece that sometimes it's the small things that you do, watch this, repetitively and progressively. Like I've often defined leadership as the willingness or the commitment to be developmentally responsible. All right. Which means that I'm going, oh, damn, man, this is getting good. That for me, leadership is being willing to grow with the thing that I'm growing. Is that, oh my goodness. And to me, I think that has been probably one of the greatest hindrances to human progress is we have not always been willing to grow as we're growing. It almost seems that we've been pushing for humanity to grow, but not too much. Don't grow too much because that's uncomfortable for us and we don't know what to do somewhere over the rainbow. So no, I used to train people that know what you want to do is you want to go ahead and see yourself there, whatever that thing is. Again, for some, it's starting some life-changing or community-changing organization. For others, it's entrepreneurship. They want to start a business. For some, it's something in their relationship that they're trying to fix. Whatever it is, you imagine that, and then you walk that thing back to see what you had to do to craft that possibility. You know what I'm saying? And that's tying your now to your next. You know, so like in this phase, but because I'm telling y'all, I'm working on something. I'm not making promises. I'm making progress. You know what I'm saying? I'm working on something. I'm investing every day of my life, tying my now to my next, being intentional about my decisions so that I can recognize the distractions. Oh man, I hope this is good for y'all. Okay, let's move on. We are what 23 minutes in. Damn, this is good. All right, let's move on. Not only am I working on something that is progressive thinking, and again, this is lesson 3 in BC 101. It goes into a lot more stuff. This is a more socially casual, personal growth type of conversation, but I still get to cast a little vision in the middle of it. But I'm also working on something that is people-centric, which means, humans over hierarchy. They're just, I think, let me see. I don't know what it's in. I don't know if it's in our BC 101 or it might be in our B Men 101 course. But I think where we talk about it is I'm not, hierarchy is not something that makes sense to me the way that most people view it. And especially for me, like someone had called me one day and they was telling me that they were afraid I was going to be disappointed in them. And I was like, we didn't have an appointment though. So how could I be disappointed in you? You know what I'm saying? Like you don't owe me that. You don't owe me your life in a way that I should have any type of way of feeling disappointed in you. And so sometimes people, when they think of organization, they can't think of organization without thinking of hierarchy. And I'm like, no, man, it's functionality over position. All right, it's function over position. Humans over hierarchy. People are not problems to be fixed. All right, this is what people-centric is for me. They are forces to be empowered. Every person carries value, insight, and agency, not just leaders and not just experts. We design systems that center human agency, not institutional authority. All right. So now this is going to zig when you thought it was going to zag. I promise you, you are not ready for this one. I promise you, every time I've said people-centric, you've probably had one way of thinking about it in your mind. And that one way of thinking about it is what I describe as the passive voice. All right. But I'm about to give you the active voice of people-centrism. All right. I find many approaches to humanity to be absolutely patronizing. I fear that in our dark ages of superstition-laced culture and politics, that we've subconsciously accepted the false ideology that humanity is inherently incapable, that our best days are behind us, and that we've been falling further and further into deprivation. Friends, nothing could be further from the truth. When I take the long view of history, though yes, there's been wars, famine, mass destruction, and several genocides, though yes, there have been horrors etched into the memory of human imagination, though this journey has been ugly and marred with abuse, when I take the long view, I can see the progress. And once I remove the expectation of the mythology of perfection and the mythology of creation, it becomes evidently clear that we are not sinners fallen from grace, but we are primates rising into possibility. We are cells organized into capacity. We are organisms collaborating as opportunity. We are molecules masquerading as moments. Humanity is not in need of a miracle. It needs to remember that it is consciously experiencing and engaging eternity as we know it in the small blip of time that we call life. It needs to remember the hills we've climbed, the victories we've won, the accomplishments we've made, the accolades we've acquired, so that we might remember ourselves and know beyond all question that we are capable. I don't know if we've truly wrestled with just how much of an adverse impact religious superstition has had on human capacity and imagination. It took me nearly 6 years after completely deconverting to realize that believing in God was only half of my problem. What I had overlooked was that in order to believe in God, in order for God to be concretized in my life as a personal belief, there was a requirement for me to decrease so that he could increase. I had to crucify myself daily so that he could live, move, and have his being in me. Because believing in God from the perspective of Western Christian theology is not just about faith that something is possibly out there. It's about manufacturing a need in people that convinces them that they are wicked, broken, inadequate, and incomplete without God. The theology works to make you as small as possible in order to make room for this God character in your consciousness. And that's the setup. The prerequisite for accepting God into your heart in many denominations is first being absolutely convinced that you are desperately incapable and powerless. So yes, I stopped believing in God in 2014, but it wasn't until 2020 that I started believing in myself, unapologetically, unashamedly, and without permission. It actually kind of started in 2017. We were a family of 6 living in a single wide trailer with holes in the floor. And that was actually a come up because in 2016, we lost everything due to Christian nationalism. And I remember wrestling with, like, what in the world is happening in my life? And for the first time, I started doing some hard math, man. So let's break this down further because I want to drive this point home to give you a better understanding of what people-centric means in the context of secular community. Let's consider it in comparison to what God-centric means in the context of a superstitious community. So in a God-centric community, who has all the answers? God does. In a God-centric community, who has all the power? God does. In a God-centric community, who deserves all the praise? In a God-centric community, who holds all the responsibility? In a God-centric community, who is the reason for our gathering? God is. All right? And some of y'all can already see where it's going. I can see the light bulbs. I can see the light bulbs popping. You slow, but you're worth waiting on, baby. That's an old preacher's joke. I still like it. All right, so now let's flip it. Let's flip it. In a people-centric community, who has all the answers? People do. In a people-centric community, who has all the power? People do. In a people-centric community, who deserves all the praise? People do. In a people-centric community, who holds all the responsibility? People do. In a people-centric community, who is the reason for our gathering? Did I mention it's the people, stupid? You see what I'm saying? Do you like what I did there? You like what I did there? See, and that's what I mean. Sometimes when we hear people-centric, we hear the passive voice, right? And sometimes, oh, there it is. Got it. Are y'all ready? So, and what I mean passive voice, for some of you, when you've heard people-centric, you interpreted that, and tell me, if it's you, confess, and not in a shameful way, this is just something we do, right? Some of you, when you heard people-centric, your mind automatically went to people-pleasing. You wouldn't have used the terminology, but if you now think about it, what you thought people-centric meant was people-pleasing. Nope. Oh, man. Oh, I hope this just helps somebody. I hope this just helps somebody. We used to say in the church that if the Lord don't do it, then it won't get done. But in BridgeCity, we say if that the people won't do it, then it won't get done. That it's the reality, you know. BridgeCity isn't the hospital, it's the workshop. It's a collaborative ecosystem where we are working on ourselves while we're working together. You know what I'm saying? We're not trying to convince people that they need a savior. We're not trying to give people a prophet who will show them the way. We're not giving people a list of rules to follow that'll gain them favor or approval. No, we're doing the hard work of reminding people that you are more than able to save yourself. Come on now, that no prophet, politician, or pulpit pimp can tell you the way, because there is no one way. You are an evolving work of art, and the possibilities are damn near infinite. In a people-centric community, we have no expectations of any supernatural or superstitious intervention. If change happens, if growth happens, if schools are built, if care centers are developed, if healthcare is made accessible, if diversity is celebrated, if humanity is elevated, it will be because of people who were working on something. And out of 8 billion people on this planet, what could our world look like if we had local campuses intentionally committed to providing space for people to connect, collaborate, and to contribute to people progress in ways that uniquely matter to them. If you're not too bougie, tag somebody new in the chat and say, God damn it, I am working on something. Bridge City is meant to be an incubator for those who are committed to belonging better, becoming better, and building better. We're not satisfied with the status quo, nor are we waiting on a messiah or a miracle politician. We're committed to building bridges to better right from where we are. God damn, this was good. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to preach, but preaching is who I am. It's just what I do, baby. It's what I do. It's what I do. And I'm looking for a few more secular preachers like me who can help me set this world on fire. God damn, this is good. Okay, are y'all still with me? Are y'all still with me? Oh, man. We've been going for half an hour now, and I hope that this is helping somebody. You let me know in the chat, whether you're watching live or later. If you're watching later, man, let me know in the comments. Is this something that is good for you? Okay, so if you're still with me, we're working on something that is progressive thinking and also something that is people-centric. And I don't even know how I'm going to follow that up because, damn, unbeknownst to me, that got better than I thought it was going to be. Like, damn. Oh, my goodness. That got good. Like, I was rubbing my head and everything. That's when you know it's good. That's when you know it's good. And just to add, oh damn, I got so much that I want to share here, but this ain't the place because there's I'm developing the Be Men 101 course right now, which is basically for people who want to be celebrants, which is the first stage of secular ministry within the BridgeCity framework. Is BridgeCity celebrants. They're our first level of ministers. And while they do get a few lessons on homiletics and hermeneutics from a secular perspective, we don't go too far in that because the whole purpose of being a celebrant is to really just to be able to hold space for people and to be able to provide support for people. So we don't want to make that course way too long. It's already 8 modules. And to be while ministry is leadership, people who are signing up to be celebrants aren't necessarily signing up to be leaders, nor are they necessarily signing up to be preachers, though we do equip them with enough in the course where they'll be able to articulate the mission, the message, and the methodology in a way that's helpful for people. But in the communicators course, which is a next level ministry, like if I could put this in Christian terms, it would be like the celebrant is like a minister's course, and a communicator is sort of like a pastor's course, pastor level course, just not senior pastor, but pastor level course. But in that one, I'm so excited about it, about building that one out, and I'm a long way out because these courses are big. Like the BC 101 course, I did my best to keep it as simple as possible because it's just a membership course. It's a free course for anybody to go through at their own pace. For these leadership courses, they're heavy, so it's a lot more goes into them. But one of the things that I'm really excited about building for the Be Men course, and I hope I'm not boring y'all. Come back, get back here. But what I'm really excited about is introducing people to the performative aspect of public communication, the presentational aspect. Because it's not just performance as we know it. It's not just performance to please, it's performance to express. It is artistry in one of the most beautiful ways, and it's a social art form, and I cannot wait. As a matter of fact, I'm hoping that by that time we are so organized, so structured that instead of me just developing these classes and people going through them, that I can actually do some videos and actually sit in and teach some of these classes and actually do some after studies with some folk, because it's going to be exciting. All right, so let's get back to this. So not only am I working on something that is progressive thinking and people-centric, but also, and this is a big one, we're working on something that is life-affirming. This life matters, all right? Bridge City is built for those who want to live now, not just prepare for an afterlife. Joy, grief, growth, and connections are sacred experiences. even without the supernatural. Our rituals, relationships, and communities are rooted in real life, not future reward. Life isn't just truth, it's growth. And growth isn't just how we learn, it's how we live. It's how we love. It's how we lean into the opportunity of being alive. This is one of the reasons that I'm absolutely adamant about making it clear that BridgeCity is not a space for debate. Those spaces exist, and this ain't it. Maybe you have the privilege to sit around and argue about bullshit all day and stuff that does not impact anybody's existential circumstances or social realities. But as for me, I'm trying to figure out how to build bridges to better. How do I make my humanism mean something to the billions of other humans that I share this space with, who are currently having to struggle to feed their children, having to hide their non-belief to find support, having to stay stuck in a marriage in fear of social isolation, having to hide their identity because no safe space exists for them to breathe and just be. We can poke holes in flawed epistemology of faith all day, and that work is highly necessary, especially for people who are already on the fringes. But that is a claim-centric work. The whole idea is to evaluate claims. BridgeCity is not a claim-centric organization. We are not a claim-centric movement. And quite honestly, if you can't tell, I resent the fact that people literally try to show up and try to force us to be that. Some of that, I do feel like there's some undertones of racism. There's a black guy doing something that I wouldn't do, and so let's tell him to stop. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I said that shit. I did. But a lot of it is also just it's this immaturity. And y'all have heard me, like, if you've been a part of our Sunday sessions, I've encouraged our community to watch that march towards sameness, to watch it. You know, there's several people that I don't agree with about many things. But in most cases, if I find no utility for that disagreement, I don't even bring it up. Because, especially back to BridgeCity, we're not claim-centric. If the goal was to evaluate every claim, then bring your claims and BridgeCity would evaluate your claims. There are organizations that do that. Call me when I'm on the line. I'd love to rip you to shreds. But as for BridgeCity, it's not a debate space. It's not a claim-centric space. BridgeCity, are you ready? Is people-centric, not claim-centric. We don't exist to test and compare claims. We exist to help people to connect to themselves, others, and the world around them. Now, mind you, I do have a project that is claim-centric. It's called Mastermind. But I got to get BridgeCity doing what it's doing before I can get back to Mastermind. So y'all hurry up, you hear me? You know? Because I look at it this way. On the other side of creating space that empowers, edifies, and elevates humanity, we'll likely see the rise of feeding programs, housing shelters, after-school services, community arts initiatives, rehabilitation clinics, at-risk teen homes, all these types of things, all powered by people who are connected to a community that celebrates them and constantly reminds them of their capacity. It's like, yes, I'm glad. I'm so glad. I'm so really hyped. I'm just like, oh my God, I'm hyped that we've proved that the resurrection couldn't have possibly happened for the umpteenth time now. But what's next? If we got everybody on the planet to agree that the resurrection did not happen, homelessness would still exist. Education would still be in crisis. Depression would still be rising. So our weekly conversations are designed to help people get comfortable seeing themselves as the rightful architect of their own lives, to get comfortable hearing their own voice and defining their own ideas about their existence, engagement, and exploration actively of the world. Many times the disingenuousness that I've called out of people who only show up to debate is that many of them are not interested enough in the topic that they want to debate to actively pursue it, to actively interrogate it. I'm not interested with that. A major part of being life affirming is helping people get back in the driver's seat of their own life, which isn't an overnight or a one size fits all process. We've all been so uniquely impacted by our triumphs and our trauma in ways that no one person could ever be able to successfully predict in advance. The idea of living authentically often comes with so much baggage of religious, cultural, and even political identifiers that it can sometimes take people years to unpack it all and experiment with their options before locking in what life is for them. So being a life-affirming community means recognizing that nobody else owes you a justification for their existence. We're not belief affirming or idea affirming or even plan affirming. If you have a belief and you want to share it within BridgeCity, you will need to be able to justify it. That's a part of one of our values, is that when it comes to information, because we live in an age of rampant misinformation, that in an attempt to actually edify folk, that we verify our information before sharing it. This is why one of the most important arms of BridgeCity operations is a research arm. Think about that. Man, integrity, right? Okay, so yeah, if you have a belief and you want to share it, you need to justify it, But if you have a life and you want to live it, in the words of Nike, just do it. That's what life affirming means. We don't exist to police the lived experiences or expectations of others. That's why, while many of you are excited about BridgeCity weekends, which I can't lie, your boy is amped for them too. I'm telling you, it's going to be on and popping when we're back in that space where we can just start showing up and popping off weekend events, bringing out the full band, the musicians, the singers, bringing everybody together, having a good time. It's going to be off the dang chain. It's going to be beautiful. It's going to be effervescent, evanescence, all of that good stuff. It's going to be good. It's going to be amazing. But my real excitement is around the launch of BridgeCity groups as we get these local campuses operational. Because we've tabooed and repressed so much of the human experience and people activity that even in secular spaces, we often struggle to cater to the full spectrum of humanity in attempts to appease outdated models of decency, which I do want to give a major shout out to Recovering from Religion, which has done an incredible job in fostering people-centered space at their excursions. I went to one last year, which I think, I did a video on it. Y'all go check it out. I went to one last year, shared my experience. It was absolutely incredible. And I've spoken very highly of them since then. But that stuff is important. And also Drew, I'm not gonna say his last name because I'm gonna fuck it up, but Drew B, that's what I'm gonna call him, Drew B. But Drew, who does the house parties, and they're post-faith house parties that help people re-engage the idea of fun outside of religious and social superstitions, So being life affirming means creating space that enables people to show up as their weird, quirky, geeky, freaky, kinky, naughty, prudish, pan, tran, bi, tri, trekkie, Jedi, Friends versus Living Single, Scotty versus Nino Brown, Goku versus Vegeta, DC versus Marvel, selves. Our lives are so much bigger than the beliefs we walked away from. Some of us are parents, hobbyists, activists, artists, performers, gamers, hentai aficionados. And the glue of community is found at the intersection of those interests, which tend to be a greater driver of people activity than belief. When you examine the most successful megachurches and major events, you'll notice a revealing trend. Their services are not designed around theology. They're designed around people interest. Immersive social experiences is typically what the glory seekers are looking for. Now, that was me in my early days. I just wanted to be in the presence of the Lord. You know, these immersive social artistic experiences. That's what a Benny Hinn crusade was. It was an immersive social experience. You're going to have this massive grand opera who's going to be singing all of your favorite songs. You know, no, they're based on leadership. You know, you go back and you look at these things that are going. They're not going. They're not going to these. I'm talking about the big ones. Now they do have some that are on the boring stuff, but the big ones, and that's what we're talking about. We're talking about the ones that work, the ones that attract attention, the ones that gain traction. The big ones, they're not talking theology. They're talking leadership. They're talking relationships for parents, for couples, and they're talking everyday life. You know? And the ones that really paid attention, they replaced their midweek service with interest-based small groups, effectively decentralizing the community experience and message while empowering members to create conversations that mattered to them. Oh man, that wasn't a theological move. That was a sociological transition. That was an evolution of organization based off of the trends, you know? Being life affirming means purposefully expanding the umbrella of conversation from the limitations of belief to the possibilities of becoming. It means wrestling to intentionally exist as a space that people can not only show up to without having to hide their humanity, but also building the infrastructure for others to explore what that even means for them. You know? Yes, we live in a world where quite a few people are so secure that they know everything about who they want to be. But there are quite a few others that when you talk about life and you talk about meaning and you talk about purpose, that they feel absolutely terrified, petrified even, because it's not an area that they've ever been able to safely explore. And as a community, man, I'm telling you, I hope this is helping y'all. I'm just trying to give you insight into why I'm so busy and why I'm so passionate and why I'm so focused. This is what I'm working on. If you're still with your boy, would you go ahead and type in the chat, I'm working on something. I'm working on something. You know, I want BridgeCity groups to be like iPhone apps. You know, you got an interest, there's a group for that. Want to explore parenting without religion? There's a group for that. Curious about local climate change projects? Oh, there's a group for that. Having an itch to hang out with former Catholics? There's a group for that. Want to meet up with polyamorous folks? Hell, there's a group for that too. You know, the big point is that being life affirming is much more than just saying, yes, you have a right to exist. It's finding ways to support that existence with meaningful activity and opportunity. I want you to consider something that you may have never thought of before, but for many aspiring speakers, singers, and musicians, progressive churches become the closest thing to life affirming, within limits, that they could find. I couldn't sing the way that I wanted to sing in chorus in Dothan, Alabama, because my choral teacher, she just wanted to sing the traditional German in Alabama. The fuck? You know what I'm saying? Type of shit. You know, I'm sorry. I get mad about it every time because it was just wasted. It was wasted time. But anyway, the band wasn't, the school band wasn't playing the type of music that I was interested in playing as a keyboardist. There was no opportunity for that at that time. My community wasn't creating spaces for kids interested in public speaking. That's not even something they imagined that kids would be interested in. But churches did, and churches were. The church that I got saved in, they used to host weekly oratory contests based on the Bible. Now tell me, why can't we do that with anything other than the Bible? It doesn't even have to be on a book. You know, many musicians and singers like myself found space to flesh out our interests and life-affirming skills. I've been speaking, playing, and singing for churches since I was 11 years old. And I often ask myself if the most attractive aspect of church as a vehicle to my younger self was that it was the only place that I could find that routinely provided space that affirmed these aspects of my existence. Now, to think about that, pick 3 things that you really enjoy doing and perhaps have enjoyed since you were a child, and ask yourself how different your experience might have been if there was space that existed in your local community that provided weekly opportunity to cultivate those interests. You know, think about that, because that's what BridgeCity Global has the potential to do. And if leadership and public speaking are 2 out of the 3 for you, can I encourage you to get in the game and become a provider of what you would have benefited from by joining BridgeCity Global as not only a member, but a minister, if you will, of humanism. This is why we're not centering this community on debate, because we're too busy focusing on life. Somebody say, I'm working on something, man. You know? So here's the thing. We're not just leaving something. We're building something. I want to speak to the ones who left the church, but still feel like they haven't quite found home, whatever that means. The ones who know how to deconstruct a belief system, but are still trying to reconstruct a life. The ones who are tired of debating doctrine and ready to build something that actually changes lives. Let me say this plain. I'm not just leaving something, I'm building something. And I want to know, are you? Because I'm working on something. Not a brand, not a show, not a clique. I'm working on a bridge from isolation to connection, from fear to freedom, from belief to becoming. And the truth is, this work is intense because the destruction was deep. The labor pool is light. And the gap we're bridging, damn it, it's vast. But I'm still here, investing every damn day in the possibility that we as people can build better. I'm not waiting on a Messiah. I'm not praying for a miracle. I'm not trying to make it to heaven. I'm trying to make something happen right here. And let me be honest, I'm no longer interested in working with those who only want to play around the periphery. This phase is for builders. And I get it. Some folks are nervous. Some people have failed before. They're exhausted by control. They've been trained to believe they're not capable. But that's exactly why we need spaces like this for them. Spaces that remind you that you're not broken, you're not wicked because you need a break. You're not waiting for a savior. You're the solution that you've been searching for. Bridge City is not a hospital for the helpless because I love you too much to ever see you as helpless. I know too much about the human experience to see you as helpless. So no, it's a workshop for the willing, a sanctuary for self-authorship, a laboratory for life-affirming connection. Because here, we're not building temples to the past. We're constructing bridges to the possible. Progressive thinking, because change isn't our enemy, it's our engine. People-centric, because humans don't need to be ruled. We need to be edified. Life-affirming, because this life is not a waiting room for the next. It is the moment. And I'm telling you, from the depths of my experience, I don't want another debate. I want a community where people can be their full, freaky, geeky, gloriously evolving selves and still feel safe. Where parents can learn to raise kids without fear. Where parents can love freely. Where skeptics, seekers, artists, builders, and quiet rebels find each other. I want to build the kind of world we all deserved when we were still trying to figure out who we were. And I believe we can. So here's your invitation to be the bridge. Take our free course, Bridge City 101, How We Change the World. It's not just a course, it's an on-ramp to becoming part of something real, something human, something sustainable. You're not just walking away, you're walking towards something that honors your story, something that respects your doubts, and something that's being built by us for all of us. Say it with me loud and proud. I'm working on something. And if you are too, then this is your next step. For more information about BridgeCity Global and ways to support, stay tuned for the slideshow with QR codes for your convenience. Thank you all for joining us today for our weekly community touchpoint. Thank you for being here for Sunday sessions. And until next time, keep rising.
Gotta let me go, gotta let me go right now. Gotta let me go, gotta let me go, gotta let me go, yeah. Gotta let me go, gotta let me go, gotta let me go. I'm out of here. Let me go, I'm out of here. Let me go, I'm out of here. Let me go, I'm out of here.